Hi everyone, and welcome to the Capricorn January 2022 self-illumination reading. Happy birthday to all of my Capricorns. So this is I Am Illuminated Tarot and meaning-based spiritual coaching services. I am Lauren. Hi and welcome. This reading is meant to take a look at a challenge or challenges that you might be experiencing in the month of January, and to take a look at what is the spiritual purpose and meaning behind you facing and overcoming these challenges. We're taking a look at what Spirit would like you to better understand about your path and purpose in an effort for you to be able to better experience your spiritual and what I like to call ultimate highest potential. And that's so that you can not only feel in flow with your life and emotionally connected to it, but so that you can also serve the greater human collective experience by fully stepping into the role that you were meant to fulfill. Okay, so Capricorn, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by pulling a card to take a look at the energy you're sitting with as we come into January here. And there's way too many cards. We'll see if we can pull just one or two. We'll see if that one wanted to come out again. I saw the Five of Coins. Five of Pentacles, which is kind of a card that denotes a poverty mindset. So some of you may be kind of sitting with that energy of feeling a little bit left out in the cold or worrying about money. Okay, so we have Temperance. Temperance came out for your internal energy. Now I'm going to pull a card to take a look at what's going on in your external environment, what Spirit is asking you to engage with. And then we're going to have at the bottom of the deck, this is the energy that basically why Spirit is having you engage with this external energy and the challenges that you're going to be facing that we'll take a look at here. And it's all so you can step up into the energy of the King of Swords. Okay, so we have Temperance in your internal energy and Page of Pentacles in your external energy. So Temperance. Temperance is a card that denotes just that. Temperance, balance, tempering. In this image, it's somebody who's tempering fire and water together. Now, to me, this card generally represents freedom through what I'd like to see as almost divine intervention. And by that, I mean you being able to understand how to take two aspects of yourself. And when we think about fire, when we think about water, there's this element that comes through of balancing your emotions with your actions and tempering those so that you can then be able to make use of them in some divine, purposeful way. Now, when this is in an external environment energy, I would say that you're looking more to balance things in your external environment, like your work life and your family life. When it's internal, this really does come down to your emotions and the actions that you choose to take and balancing those out so that you're not coming from a place that's too centered from an emotional stance, let's say, so that you're only acting from a place of emotion, and vice versa, that you're not only acting without some type of emotional investment. So Spirit's really asking you to kind of be aware this month in January about the balance. Where are you acting without having emotional connecting, and where are you perhaps maybe acting only out of an emotion? This could look like, let's say, you maybe get really fired up over something, you get angry and you instantly act instead of taking a moment to kind of temper that anger or temper that maybe really passionate side of yourself with a moment of, okay, let me stop, process, understand why I'm feeling this way, to then temper how I act. Or vice versa. Maybe you're just kind of going through the motions, and you're not actually emotionally connecting to the why behind what you're doing. So it's going to be this little bit of this internal balance this month. And the reason why Spirit wants you to be aware of this is because in your external environment, we have the Page of Pentacles. And the Page of Pentacles is a card that really brings that energy of stepping out into the world almost with the curiosity of a child in learning something new or learning something about something you have tangibly, physically, and going out and kind of playing with it in the external environment. This can be a card that denotes maybe taking a course to learn something new, or even going back to school. It can also be something like picking up a hobby and you're just starting to get into it and starting to see how it feels to, I don't know, take up rock climbing or maybe you have a New Year's resolution where you want to try something new, and that's what this could look like. So there's this quality here of kind of stepping back into almost a student-like mentality or a childlike mentality of going out into the world to interact with something. But in order for you to do that, you have to internally balance your emotions with the action taken. Because ultimately, the lesson that you're learning and the meaning behind the challenge of balancing your internal world with going out and kind of learning something new, or having to kind of almost be the apprentice again to a certain extent in your external environment, you're learning how to become and carry the energy of the King of Swords. And what is the King of Swords? The King of Swords is a card of somebody who tells it like it is, who sees the truth, who can actually maybe come across a little stern, or this would be the person that you go to for advice. You'd say, hey, I'm trying to make a decision between this or that, and that person's going to tell you very honestly, but very fairly. They're going to come from a fair perspective and tell you very, almost kind of, I wouldn't say bluntly, but they're not going to fluff it up. It's going to be that kind of clarity of mind, coming with a truthful stance, and being able to see the truth clearly in situations. So that's really what I see for the month of January, is that as you're learning to balance your actions with your emotions, and you're getting ready to kind of step out into this almost childlike student apprentice type energy, you're going to understand a truth about something, and you're going to step into, I think, a much stronger version of yourself. Okay, so let's take a look now at what are the challenges you're facing, and kind of what a little more clarity as to what this external energy of almost the student is out here. What does Capricorn need to know about the challenges you're going to be facing this month? So right off the bat, we have Eight of Swords. Eight of Swords is a card that focuses on the energy of mental entrapment, meaning that you can feel in a mental space that it's almost like overthinking something. That's how I see the Eight of Swords, is feeling like, okay, I've tried to think about all the ways I could make this happen, and it's just, I've tried this, but there's a quality that comes through with this card of, it is just in your mind. These people are not actually trapped by the swords, they're just mindlessly kind of walking through them. Okay, got quite a few cards that came out here, and we'll take this last one too that popped out. Okay. All right, so getting back to the Eight of Swords, there's this quality that comes through there that is, yes, I am trapped. I'm kind of overthinking things. I keep coming up with scenarios, and I keep coming up with the negative consequence, instead of thinking in more of a positive way of, well, why don't I try to also throw in a few positive what ifs instead of only looking at the negative what ifs. And in this card, you can see they're not actually confined by the swords, they're just aimlessly walking through them, thinking that they're trapped. But in reality, if they would take a step back and just walk between the swords, they would be able to turn around and notice, oh, these are just randomly placed swords, just like your randomly placed thoughts. And what comes right after that is the Empress, which is a beautiful energy. It's a great card to come up with the Eight of Swords, because the Eight of Swords is being trapped in a mental space with all the negative what ifs. The Empress shows up to say, you have the power to create for yourself what you want. You may not see the solution clearly in this moment, but the power comes from within. There's this, I wouldn't even say, I'm trying to get down to kind of the heart of the Empress. The Empress card is number 3 in the tarot, which I always look at the number 3 as a number that is about building with the divine. It's about coming to that almost like innocent, childlike quality towards what can't I get out of life? What can't I create and do with the divine on my side? And I think coming up with the 5 of Wands and the Ace of Cups directly after that. This right here denotes to me the Temperance card that you're seeing here. The 5 of Wands, wands are about fire. This can be a card of conflict. This can be a card of kind of going out there and testing in action. There is always a feeling that comes through from the 5 of Wands for me of, yes, it can be a little bit of a card of chaos where everybody's kind of putting in their own input, so to speak, or everybody has their own stick and they're all kind of hitting at each other. But there's this other part of the 5 of Wands that there's this feeling of kind of testing to see what you're capable of. Now there's almost this practice component of, okay, let me see if I do this, if I take this action, if I take this action, like what happens? And followed by the Ace of Cups, there's this quality that comes through of love, of this unconditional, everlasting love. And with these two here, I'm really feeling, with the Temperance card coming up on this side, that there's this energy of learning how to almost forgive yourself, possibly for not always taking the right action or not always being as successful as you would like with the actions you take. And I don't know why I'm getting almost this childlike sensibility of that, of almost like I imagine this kid like running back in from playing with their friends outside, and they come in and they're crying and they're like, I didn't do something right, and then I fell down and the kids made fun of me. And you'd sit there and you would comfort the child and say, oh sweetie, like don't worry about it, you're just you're learning, go back out, try again. It's all good, we love you, don't worry about it. And there's this quality of being able to almost forgive yourself and to continue to take action despite that yes, you may have tried something, you may have tried a few things and maybe they didn't quite work out, but you're being asked to continue to take action, but to do so from a place of love towards yourself. And with the Empress kind of right in between these two with the 8 of Swords, just this element of you being kind of on the precipice of being able to step back into a place of power and creation for yourself that I think maybe you guys haven't felt you've been in for quite some time. That you felt maybe that you were kind of wandering in the darkness of this mental space. And as you're stepping into understanding a little bit more, I get to create for myself what I want. And if I do have put some faith into creating with spirit, so to speak, that I can forgive myself for maybe making mistakes. I am a child, and I love how Temperance comes up again as the last card here in your challenge. There's this defining quality of, yes, a double confirmation. This is what you're tempering. You're tempering your actions with coming from a place of love, coming from a place of non-judgment for yourself, a sense of forgiveness, and an understanding that the divine spirit, God, however you see and experience the beyond, wants you to know that they love you and that they see what you're doing, they see the work, and to take the love that they have for you and be able to bring that in as you continue to move forward. Because we have the 9 of Swords and the 5 of Cups, clarifying Temperance over here. And the 9 of Swords is another card of mental anguish. It's a card of worry. It's a card of those thoughts that keep us up at night, coupled with the 5 of Cups, which is a card of emotional regret. It's a card of looking at what you thought you had, and it's almost like a card of crying over spilled milk. There's really no way, I mean, you can keep looking at it and you can keep regretting that something didn't emotionally happen that you wanted to. But unfortunately, just like this woman cannot put the liquid back in the cups, or you cannot take spilled milk and put it back into a cup, it's time to move on. So there's this element here of, it's hard, I can see it's hard for you to kind of step into this place of love for yourself, love for others, as you continue to take action because of something that's happened in the past, of a disappointment, things didn't work out. And it's that feeling of regret over something that didn't work out that keeps you up at night, that keeps you worried, that's kept you kind of in this Eight of Swords place. And why, Spirit, the meaning behind you having to kind of, I think, go through this and to reface some regrets and to take a look at almost how you're perceiving things in a mental way. The worries that you're going over in your mind, the places you feel you think you're trapped in, is because you're being asked to go back out into the world fresh, to go back out with this optimism of a child, with this curiosity of, okay, I have something. He has a pentacle. He's been given something, a coin. That's been developed a little bit. But now you're being asked by Spirit to kind of to interact with this and go out into the world, to gather information, to utilize it, to continue to take action, and to do so from a place balanced with love for self. And the understanding that as you do that, Spirit will work with you to co-create what you're hoping to give birth to. And in doing so, you're going to step up into the energy of the King of Swords, which is true understanding. It's mastering your thoughts, seeing the truth through, I wouldn't say the lies, so to speak, but seeing the truth through the illusion. And these two cards can denote an illusion of, I've created these negative thoughts. I've created the negative outcomes that I think will happen if I try to do this or try to do that. And in reality, the King of Swords, as you step up into that energy of clarity, will say, I realize my own personal power. And I realize the love that the divine has for me, and that I'm being asked to continue to keep going out there to take action. But I've got to do so from a place of emotional connection. And I've got to do so from a place of positive emotional connection, not from a place of regret, of I'm going to act from this place of regret, meaning I'm not going to do this because the last time this happened and it didn't make me feel good. Instead, you're acting from a place of what do I want to create? And I'm going to go out there and start to create it. Okay, so now I'm going to pull 3 cards, one for the concept of curiosity, one for courage, and one for contemplation. And this is to help give you some, kind of almost ground the reading into a more, from what is a very general reading into a more individualized experience for yourself, so that you have some things to keep in mind as you move through the month of January to help better illuminate for you what Spirit would like you to better understand about yourself. And we do this because the more that we understand about ourselves, the more clearly we can step up into our highest potential, and in doing so, be of service to others. All right, so I'm going to pull a card here for curiosity, and this is going to be where we're going to build a question for you to ask yourself throughout the month of January to help bring awareness to some aspect of your experience that perhaps you would not have otherwise been aware of. Oh wow, that is way too many cards. I'm sorry. If I had a longer reading, I would go into all of them, but let's see if we can maybe just get 1 or 2 from that stack that came out there. What does Capricorn need to know about what they should be curious about for the month of January? All right, let's see what came out here. We have Deceit, number 25. Now, this card does not generally, for me, mean external deceit. Generally, when this card comes up, it represents where we deceive ourselves, where we feel a sense of maybe a poverty mindset, where we tell ourselves, well, if I do that, I'm going to lose X, Y, and Z. It's the negative what if game. Or this is where we tell ourselves we're not worthy, or that we're not strong enough, or that It can also be where we're so focused, because there's always a part in this card where I'm drawn to kind of the money aspect. He's holding coins and look like they're kind of slipping through his fingers. And there's this element there that it's almost where sometimes we deceive ourselves and being so focused on money that we lose sight of everything else. We lose sight of the divine love that we should have, not only for ourselves, between us and the divine, but for everyone else. And the enjoyment of our experience, the ability to go out and create our experience and to legitimately enjoy that experience as we're doing that. So what I would say for you, Capricorn, for the month of January is to ask yourself this question: where are you deceiving yourself in thinking that you are either unworthy of receiving love both from the divine and from those around you, and where that is preventing you from possibly taking action in a way that you would like? Or where are you deceiving yourself that you are not worthy of being forgiven for possibly making mistakes? And this can look like, and this is actually something that really hits home for myself. I don't have Capricorn in my chart that is prevalent, but I can say that I can give you an example of what I've gone through in the past. So there's this quality of deceiving yourself in a way where maybe you went out and made mistakes, and you feel almost like they're unforgivable, or that you have to sit and deal with the consequences, and you can't ask for help, and you can't almost air them for other people. You can't air the regrets you've had in the past and kind of release them. And for me, this was something where, I'm currently married, but I have been married and divorced previously. And there was a part of myself where with my first marriage, it was very difficult for me to walk away from that marriage, or for me to even reach out and to ask for help from others, and thinking about having to walk away from that marriage and all of the things that I would end up having to lose and rebuild from, because I felt that I had made a mistake, that I had ignored warning signs, that I had ignored what other people had even tried to point out as warning signs. And because I had made those mistakes and I had tried, that I wasn't worthy of the help of others, or I wasn't worthy actually of even leaving the relationship, because now I had to make it work. And I wasn't in a place to understand that sometimes we try things and they don't work. And that's what we learn from. Now, if I went out and met somebody similar who had all the same red flags, and I got into a whole nother relationship with a similar person, well, that would mean then that I'm not learning my lesson. I'm not aware. But I did. I learned my lesson, and I found a much better person to move forward with. But I can say at the time when I was thinking of leaving my ex-husband, that I went through this whole phase of not feeling worthy. Of not feeling worthy to leave the relationship, of not feeling worthy to forgive myself for making those mistakes. And that was probably the hardest part of the whole experience. And sometimes we don't even realize that we're doing that until we bring awareness to maybe why we're not taking action in a place where that we're constantly feeling trapped by. So for you guys, that's really what I would say. Ask yourself this month, where have you been feeling trapped for a long time? And where are you deceiving yourself that you aren't, again, worthy of either the love and the success that you think you should have from the work that you've put into it? Or where do you feel that you're not worthy of forgiving yourself, of loving yourself despite the mistakes you may have made? All right, now I'm going to pull an extra special message here for the concept of courage. And courage is an important concept, because courage is where we really step into our personal power and learning how we can really in the small actions and the small decisions that we have the courage to take every day that we actually are able to create our experience. Meaning that it's in having the courage to make the tough decisions every day that allow us to better ourselves, to better help us reach our highest potential. And that can be making that decision to not reach for that second cookie after dinner. It can be that small decision to wake up that 30 minutes earlier in the day to better be able to do something, whether it's sneak in a workout or get some time for meditation and prayer. But whatever it is, it's in those small decisions and having the courage to make the tough decision over the easy decision, that again is where we change our whole experience. So for you guys, for the concept of courage, we have surrender to complete healing. It says, open fully to the loving, compassionate forces of the universe that support your physical, emotional, and spiritual healing. This is beautiful. It ties right in with the Ace of Cups and with this quality of almost forgiveness for yourself. We all make mistakes. But in facing those mistakes and making the hard decision to continue on, and to continue on with an optimistic, open mindset, and wondering, why did I go through this? What now is Spirit going to show me that there's a reason why I went through all of that? I know for me personally, in the experience that I was just discussing, that for me, in having to leave that relationship and finally be able to realize that yes, I was worthy of love from a person in a way that I needed it, and that I could forgive myself for making those mistakes. It opened me up to a whole new chapter in my life where I could welcome in love from others. I started to understand my value more, and I also understood what a beautiful partnership could be, but I had to heal that part of myself first. And I needed to continue to stay optimistic and open to a new relationship and to love in different forms, and for the manifestation of a family that I didn't know if I would ever have. But I had to keep trying. I couldn't stay in this place of regret and worry. You know, a lot of people might leave a bad relationship and then not want to go out into trying for another one because of that. And they hold themselves back from really learning that lesson and understanding you went through that just so that you could then experience a better relationship almost on a higher level. You know, when I think about the balance of kind of light and dark and the harmony that we see throughout all of the universe, there is this really, I would call it a truth. There is a truth that we can't know darkness unless there's light. We can't know truth unless we understand what is not true. And there is a quality of whatever you've gone through, you had to know failure in some way so that as you continue forward, that the new successes you're going to have, you'll be able to identify and understand them that much more. You'll know where to put your emotional, you'll know where to take action from a place of divinely inspired emotional connection and not from a place of desperation or regret. So as you're having the courage to make those tough decisions in the month of January, surrender to this feeling of complete healing. Really take into account this message. Open fully to the loving, compassionate forces of the universe that support your physical, emotional, and spiritual healing, and know that Spirit wants you to keep pushing on. Okay. And now I'm going to go ahead and pull one final card here for the concept of contemplation. And contemplation is very important. So when I talk about curiosity, courage, and contemplation, I am bringing in the Triad of Engagement, which is how, when you work with these three principles, you engage with your life so that there's never a day that goes by that just goes by, that you're always aware and engaged. And contemplation is a very important principle because it allows us in the moment to reflect and to learn from our lessons, because we are constantly in a contemplative state. We are looking at things, seeing a cause and reaction, and we're able then to adjust where we have the courage to take action, and we adjust also where we're curious and what we open ourselves up to. So for contemplation this month, we have Council of Light, Divine Orchestration, Helpers in the Subtle Realms. I think that this is a beautiful message to kind of come through, and kind of what I've been feeling for you, Capricorn, that's been coming through in this whole reading is this understanding that this was all for a reason, divine orchestration, and that there are spirit and perhaps others in kind of the beyond realm that are here helping you. They see the struggles you're going through currently, and Spirit is trying to say, keep going, that this was not all for nothing. You had to go through these kind of trials and tribulations, but an understanding this deep love for who you are and your importance. It's time to go back out as a fresh, curious version of yourself to interact and engage with life in a physical way, because something is coming through for you. And as you do, you get to step up into this beautiful place of truth, clarity, and understanding. And you know what, Capricorn, since it's your birthday month, I'm going to pull one extra card for you. I just feel like it. This is a really powerful message. It's a very moving message. Personal forgiveness, I think, is one of the most difficult things for us as humans to do. We can forgive others, and that can be difficult as well, but sometimes it's the hardest act to actually forgive ourselves, because we're the ones that have to live with the knowledge of the mistakes we've made. So we have Wisdom of the Divine Feminine, number 9, and we have Hold Your Center, and it says 34, which breaks down to number 7. Interesting. This is a really beautiful message. So whether or not you are a man or a woman, Wisdom of the Divine Feminine brings forward a quality of receptivity and ties right in with the Empress. In fact, there's almost a similar look to these two cards when you see them. There's this quality of being receptive and being able to almost exude abundance, to be able to grow what you want to grow. And the number 9 coming through is a number of the ending of a cycle, but it's also gleaning all of the information from that cycle and stepping up into this place of almost magic, of where as the next cycle begins, you have all of this experience to be able to apply to the next cycle coming through. So it's a very fertile place to be. And with Hold Your Center, this card, I am always drawn to the image of the woman who's kind of almost sitting here just like looking down, almost in a similar aspect to here, looking like she's in a place of regret, and that she doesn't see this door opening behind her and her spirit basically touching the divine. That there's this place of regret, and instead of understanding the beauty that the divine sees in you and understanding your own importance and in being here and in interacting with life, that there's this forgetfulness of that, forgetfulness of your own divinity, forgetfulness of your own ability to be able to be abundant and to create yourself. We each have our own relationship with the divine. We are part of a collective, and we are individual at the same time, but we are also each a singularity. And we each have our own relationship to the divine that is separate from all others. And I think the message that's coming through here for you is to be reminded of that, to be reminded of how abundant you can be, and to be able to take all of what you've learned up until this point and be able to carry it forward and take it out in a fresh way of looking at the places where you feel you failed, and to see that only as places where you can learn. So that as you move into this next chapter and into this place of clarity, you're going to be very clear as to what is for you and what is not, but also very clear in how you perceive the good things that now come in. And it'll be much easier for you to make the tougher decisions, because you're going to see, oh, okay, I've already done that, so I'm going to do this instead. And I'm not going to be afraid to do it. I'm going to come at it with this curiosity of a child, this optimism of what is in store for me. Beautiful message, Capricorn. It's a powerful month for you. It's a month definitely of reflection, of deep contemplation, of reconnecting with spirit, reconnecting with the love of yourself through spirit and from spirit, to forgive yourself for whatever you feel you can't forgive yourself for making mistakes. And looking at that and being asked to have those healed so that you can see them for the gems that they are. Those mistakes were not mistakes. They are only stepping stones to your success, stepping stones to your emotional connection, and stepping stones for your place of being able to create abundance moving forward, as well as you being reminded that you always have this personal relationship with the divine. And you have your own story and your own journey and your own path to follow and to fulfill. And it's time to reconnect with that. Why are you here, Capricorn? Why are you specifically here? It's going to be a month, I think, that's going to give you great clarity on that. All right, I hope you all have a wonderful month of January. If you'd like a personal reading to take a look at your own personal challenges and to see this message that Spirit wants to bring in for you and how you can start to work with that to better understand your path and purpose, you can click on the link below to book a personal reading or a one-on-one coaching session. And I hope, again, you all have a beautiful January, and I will see you in February. Bye, Capricorn.